everybody, my name is Sky and I am a raw vegan and I healed myself with raw foods, and I do podcasts with beautiful souls like Layla and Stephanie who have used things like raw foods and Reiki and come together and helping people heal. Welcome Layla, welcome Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. So I just want to give a little bit of background. I think some of you watching will know Layla. She is the amazing woman who had 3 ecstatic births and 2 of them on raw foods and 3 of them out in nature. And Stephanie's a naturopathic doctor and an attorney whose journey with Reiki began in 2013. After receiving her level 1 attunement, her path deepened years later when she met Layla. And with Layla, Layla is a Reiki Master, a healer. She's the founder of the new Earth Reiki Academy, background in psychology, neuroscience, Eastern healing, fitness. And Layla loves to blend like modalities like this, and she's a raw foodist as well. But essentially, these two have come together and created the exquisite Reiki Sisterhood, which we will talk on today. So who wants to start with sharing a little bit of how they got into Reiki?
Well, I will begin, and thank you so much for having us here. This is so special. I've watched Sky a lot about your journey with raw foods, and it's very powerful and just so wonderful that you're sharing your experience so that others can witness the power of food as medicine. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for having us here. My journey, I would say I have always been health-minded and inclined to more natural methods of healing, but I didn't know anything about Reiki or naturopathic medicine. I originally wanted to be a conventional medical doctor, and just the way my path unfolded, I ended up going to law school and became an attorney, and was practicing law for about 6 years and realized that there was something missing and that there was a bigger purpose and something else I needed to be doing. And around that time, I was actually just telling Layla, looking back now, I see this, but I didn't realize it at the time. I was 29 years old, going through a lot of upheaval in my life with career changes, realizing that maybe the law wasn't my exclusive focus. Turns out it was my Saturn return, now looking back on it, which is really neat. But I learned about naturopathic medicine and decided I was going to leave my job and go back to school and become a naturopathic doctor. And at that same time, I also learned about Reiki. And my first experience with Reiki was in a room with a bunch of people, and they did what was they called an open heart meditation. And they said to smile at your heart, and my soul was just lit up and I couldn't stop smiling, like physically couldn't stop smiling. And it was the most amazing experience. And I told Layla later that I had done smile Reiki, because in my mind, I thought that was what it was. Turns out that is not actually a thing, but it was an open heart meditation. And it was just the most beautiful experience. So after that, I went to, in Reiki, what's called an attunement. I did a Reiki level 1 attunement to learn how to do this self-healing, and had an amazing experience, but never really used it. My path was circuitous. I graduated from naturopathic medical school. COVID happened. I ended up now combining my naturopathic medicine and legal practices, and I'm an attorney for healthcare practitioners, but my practice became virtual, which allowed me to then decide, oh my gosh, if I want to live anywhere in the world, or I could work anywhere in the world, where would I want to live? And I was drawn to Kauai. A lot more intervening in there, but the beauty of that is what led me to Layla. And Layla and her family and her beautiful family. And we originally connected over my desire to grow my own food. And I call them my garden angels. They are certainly garden angels. Within a span of months, I had bushels of romaine. I mean, more than I could dream of. It was amazing. I need their help now with it. but that friendship then led me back to Reiki, because Layla is a Reiki master, and she is an exquisite woman, and she has this exquisite woman lineage. And I would see Layla at the market, and Sky, I know you know from watching Layla and meeting her in person in Hawaii and seeing her with her kids. She is an exquisite woman walking around, and she carries herself with grace and elegance. And I wanted to learn from her. And so Layla moved me to both level 2 and level 3. And our desire to create this exquisite Reiki sisterhood developed out of our friendship and the laughter we share together and the fun times we share together, and just the healing sisterhood that we've developed, and wanting all women to have that. So that is the long and short story of my Reiki and meeting Layla.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I'm thinking here, so when I first met Layla, all I could think of was, I thought there's something in the air in Kauai, because I'd watched Raw Christina videos, and she has this certain way with the hair and the head and this presence that I guess I never realized how much it impacted me from watching on the screen. And then when I saw Layla, I'm like, is that her twin? Is there something? Because they both have these mannerisms. And then she said, we're friends. And I'm like, it's more than just friends. There's something going on. And I know they probably have similar lifestyles. So, but yeah, definitely, even the whole family, when I met Layla's family, I was like, this is the epitome of like enlightenment right here. Like there's so, it was like, and I said to Layla, I'm inside her house, and I said, I feel like this is not your place. Like your place, you're like, yeah, I live outside most of the time. I'm like, I could like, that's where you could tell she just lights up. Oh yeah. But Layla, we've gone in before about your raw journey and your birth story, but do you want to share more about this Reiki side of your journey?
Absolutely. And thank you both for all your sweet words. And yeah, Reiki has honestly been life-saving for me. And it's such an honor to be able to talk about it and share about it with people. And I grew up totally ignorant to any form of healing other than just going to the doctor. I told you, Sky, my mom was a neonatal nurse. And so I was very heavily involved in the medical system when I was growing up, and had a lot of difficulties actually with my health, as you know. But I was never aware of even like acupuncture or anything Eastern, naturopathic medicine, herbs, anything. I was just completely oblivious of all of that. But when I was 19 years old, I was actually going down a pretty bad path. I was not spending time with the best influences, and I also was had a lot of different addictions and problems because like my years from like 11 to 19 were very, very rough and very tragic in a lot of different ways, and I coped in very unhealthy ways. And when I was 19, I was actually in a car accident, and it was the closest near-death experience I had ever had. And in the moment that it was happening, I remember just kind of opening up to this experience of feeling like there was something so much greater to life than I was experiencing before that. There was a feeling of, just really expanding into something beyond this perception that I had of myself. And I didn't know quite what it was, but I knew that something was opening up within me. And I spent the next probably 5 years really, really intensely on the path of self-understanding and self-help and self-knowledge, and just really trying to learn about who I was and what this life was all about. And in that time, I actually had a few experiences with Reiki because I had a bulging disc in my neck from the car accident. And I was at a drum circle one evening, and one of my closest friends came up to me, and he was like, "What's going on, Layla? You're acting different. Did something happen? What are you going through?" And I told him about some of these experiences that I was having, which I don't need to go into now because it would take up too much time. But he was suggesting that I go see one of his friends who was a Reiki master. And I had no idea what that was, but I said, okay, at this point, I'll do anything, because I was in such a distraught place and just really kind of overwhelmed with some of the things that I was experiencing on a really spiritual, deep level. I didn't know who to talk to about it. And so I just assumed that maybe this person would be able to help me. So I went to a session with her and had the most powerful experience of my life up till that point. She guided me through this visualization, and I thought that I was getting a massage, but she was like, no, just sit down, lie down on the table, keep your clothes on. Like, and she didn't even touch me the whole time. It was all hovering above my body and working with my auric field. And she was guiding me through this meditation and this visualization. And she showed me, she brought this image, and she said, there are 3 beings that have something to share with you. And right when she said that, I saw my 3 children in front of me.
Aww.
And she said, they have one of them has something for you. And Isaiah, my son, stepped forward up to me, and he reached his hands out right when she said that. And he didn't have anything in his hands, but I remember the moment that he did that, my entire body was just flooded with this feeling like he had just given me the answer to every question I have ever had in my life. Like, it was one of the biggest blessings that I had ever felt. I kind of like took that in, finished the session, and was honestly pretty creeped out by it, because up till that point, I had never done visualization, meditation, anything like that. And it was so vivid and so real and so powerful that I was like, what is this? Like witchery? Or I had no idea. It was so new to me. And she, the Reiki master, was like, I need to teach you. You need to let me teach you. And she was like, I'll teach you for free. She was like, I haven't had an experience like that, and I really think you need to learn this. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll consider it. Honestly, just being so creeped out by the experience. She goes, okay, take these. She gave me a stack of like 7 books on Reiki, and was like, read these and call me once you're finished reading them. And I was like, okay, thanks. And I took them home and I shoved them in the back of a cabinet at the base of my bed, and was like, I am not addressing that topic ever again. And I just kind of let it sit, and months went by. And at that time, I was really starting to open to a lot of different religions and spiritualities. And I was taking this class in undergraduate school that was called Yogis, Mystics, and Shamans. And at the end of the semester, we had to do an actual like hands-on experience with something. And one night I was like, thinking, oh, I'll maybe just do like Bikram yoga or something easy that I'm like already doing. And then I had this dream one night, which was like so much more than a dream. I'm sure like if any of you've had that experience, you understand it was like so real. But where my son, Isaiah, came next to my bed when I was sleeping and took this stack of books and like plopped it down on my arm when I was in my bed. And I remember feeling it. Like I had this feather comforter. I was using down comforters at that point. And I remember feeling as if the books landed on the comforter and then like hit my arm. And then I woke up from this experience that I was having and was like, okay, I need to learn Reiki. Like it was like so clear that he was telling me that I needed to learn it. And so I went forward with the attunement and got my Reiki level 1, and then which usually is working on healing yourself. And then I learned Reiki level 2 a few months later, which is where you kind of open up to giving Reiki to other people. And then I moved to New Mexico for a 3-month summer retreat. And I gave myself Reiki every single day for that entire period. And I had this Kirlian photography done before my retreat, and then at the conclusion of the 3-month retreat. And the beginning was like all chaotic and rainbow colored and like stuff everywhere. But after practicing Reiki every single day for 3 months, at the end of it, the whole entire Kirlian photography was like this aqua blue color with just like a tiny bit of purple on the outsides. And not only that, but I also, the bulging disc was healed, like totally healed. And I felt a degree of trust and just like faith in life that I had never experienced up till that point. And so that encouraged me to learn how to teach so that I could share it with other people, because it was so profound and powerful in my life. And I wanted to be able to give other people that opportunity too. So that was kind of how it all began for me.
That's so beautiful. Okay, so I am pretty sure when your children came to you, you had not had your children yet. Is that correct?
Yeah, I hadn't even met my beloved yet. It took about
Wow.
4 years after that experience to meet my partner.
Wow. And the other question I have is, when you had this vivid dream where the book fell on your arm, were you sleeping outdoors or indoors at the time?
I was indoors. I had a little condo that was right on the ocean, and I was sharing a room. I had a roommate, and so I could like even see her in her bed, and wild. It was so
wow. This is so incredible. Like it really is. And so when this started, I wanted to ask, were you eating a raw food diet when you first started Reiki?
I was vegan. I was not aware of the raw foods. But I turned vegan when I was 14, and I stayed vegan until I was maybe like 22, and then I had a few years off. But so I was in the vegan movement for animal rights and for health reasons, but I wasn't like high raw at all. I was like stir frying tofu and vegetables every day.
Sure. Okay, so my question is, what do you both feel it is about Reiki which is different? Because there's a lot of healing modalities out there, but obviously you found profound changes and healing and the Kirlian photography. What does each of you, I mean, Stephanie, maybe you can start. What is it about Reiki which feels so different to anything you've experienced?
I think the power of Reiki is actually the ability for self-healing, and that inner knowing that that you have a self-sufficiency, and the body just has an inner wisdom and knows how to heal. And I think that's so powerful, especially today where there's just an immense amount of information coming at us, and especially on social media and YouTube or all these places, right? There's a billion different ways of healing, and it's honestly confusing. And if we just step back, and I think one of the things that Reiki allows us to do is it's available to everyone. It truly is. You don't have to have, besides having the attunement, it is something that is so available to everyone in all moments. And for me, it's given me this inner calm and also an inner confidence, even though I have the education in naturopathic medicine. Just as you said, there's still so many modalities, and there's so much that is unknown in medicine and in how the body works. And part of what Reiki does is you don't have to know how it works. It's just the inner peace and following these Reiki principles that we can talk about some more, about how you live your life and how you think about things. But for me, truly the power is giving me the confidence to know that I can take this with me anywhere. I don't need to look outside of me for healing or for how to do something. While it's nice to be able to do that sometimes, I can always come back within and just have this at any time. I would say that's probably the most profound part of it. And I didn't actually fully understand that until I reconnected with Reiki later on in my journey. But I would love to hear what Layla has to say as well.
I love that. Like, I think self-love is that principle which heals. And if once a person can believe and see that, it's in them, that's so powerful. Like, that's the most powerful thing we can have. So
yeah.
Yeah,
and knowing that I'm always okay. And It's okay, whatever's going on outside of me. There can be chaos, there can be turbulence. And it's not that I am an expert in this, but it's the always attempt to be just that calm equanimity, peace inside, just knowing I am okay, the universe has my back. And the more we open up to that, and actually the more I started to connect with Layla, I will say I started seeing signs of that everywhere. And I know what people differ on what they believe in terms of angel numbers and those sorts of things, but the synchronicities that start happening when you open your eyes to the world and are just at peace with yourself and where you are in the world are pretty amazing.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah,
So
that's so beautiful what you shared. I love that you started with the self-healing piece, because that's really like what it's been for me, has been finding a methodology that actually works to calm my system down, because I feel like I've been really sensitive my whole life. And a lot of the time I saw that as a weakness. And it wasn't until I learned Reiki that I really saw that that was an incredible strength. And I just needed to find ways to kind of support and protect that sensitivity. And, that I really, came to just experience the richness of kind of having some kind of practice for self-soothing, self-coping, self-care, self-love. And to be honest, the founder of Reiki was looking to find the same form of healing that Jesus did. And so it's a very, like, it feels like a very universal form of healing. And I think that probably all energy healings are kind of rooted in that truth too, that there's not necessarily like one that's better or more profound or brighter or whatever it may be, that they're all kind of pointing to the same thing, which is just how can we kind of step aside and allow the healing energy of the universe to come through and to help people heal that need it. And that's kind of like the common trajectory amongst all healing modalities, and again, amongst shamanism, amongst Native American healing, every single thing. It's all about just being a conduit or a channel or a vessel for this healing and this peace to come through us, and to share that with others. And so for me, I feel like I never really envisioned that I would like get into this Japanese originated form of healing, but it's just been so simple and straightforward and clear and easy, and like Stephanie said, open to everybody and non-denominational. You can still have whatever religion you want, and now it's actually being scientifically proven. They're having all kinds of studies done that are showing that Reiki actually does physiological stuff to the body, that it really is magic that they're able to measure scientifically. And so it's very exciting to see it spreading and growing and becoming more mainstream, because I know in my life I mostly make choices based on how they impact my intellect or my mental health, because I want to have the clearest, sharpest, best understanding that I can have. I've always seen that that's the way to enjoy life to the fullest, is to, have proper understanding and knowledge of like how life works. And so for me, that's why I've been drawn to raw foods. And it's also why I've been drawn to Reiki, because it provides a degree of sanctuary and calm and peace and clarity that you can just get by placing your hands on your head for 5 minutes a day. And it's pretty miraculous. So
yeah, what I'm hearing here, and which I love, which I think maybe other modalities, especially Western medicine, misses, and that is you guys are healing yourself before you're healing another. And there's two sides to this, and one is that people need to be healed, but the wounded healer is who I listen to most. I want to hear the person who's walked the path and got themselves somewhere, but also I want someone who has healed. And I never thought of it until, Stephanie, that you said it, where first off you heal yourself. And I'm like, you've got a whole lot of people, like doctors not turning up for my grandma because he's had a heart attack. And then I start thinking, because I'm just on raw foods, I'm like, do I want someone who's having a heart attack looking, you know, I started to question more, but that's amazing that you guys first healed.
Well, and the other thing that's actually fascinating about what you were talking about is I almost see Reiki, and this is actually part of, I think what is beautiful about Reiki is that the person doing the Reiki is almost not even a healer so much as just the conduit or the vessel for the Reiki energy, which is lovely because it's not so much the Reiki master or the person who is doing the Reiki as healing, but it's just helping to channel this life force energy to the individual so that they can experience their own healing. And so it truly, I feel like, is really empowering to everyone. Just like you said, like everyone knows, and I think you've even talked about this before, just you knowing that raw foods was what was going to help you heal and not listening to all the outside noise. And I feel like Reiki, it reinforces that because it's just all about allowing in this life force energy, and all we're trying to do is just be a vessel for it and express it in the most positive way we can.
Right. So it's even more self-love, because I, like, as much as I know for me raw foods healed, it's because it is self-love for me. And so what you're saying is you're stepping out of the way and, you know, and just being that vessel and that antenna basically, so that things can come through. So do you want to say anything on that, Layla?
Oh, I guess I'm just feeling so excited to welcome people into it. You know, like I have this feeling of just, it's such an unusual thing. Like if I were to ask my 10-year-old self if I would have ended up doing this pathway, I would not have even expected it at all. And the fact that I went from like knowing nothing about energy healing to just like having it essentially become my life work and my life guidance it's been really mind blowing. And it also makes me feel like I want to just like share it with everyone, even if they're like, what is it? I don't know what it is, because I still, even to this day, am like, I try to explain it to the best of my ability, but there's still so much mystery. Even after 2 decades of doing it, I'm like, you know, this is what I can tell you it stands for and what it does, but there's so much more that is just still unknown, that just works on these etheric, mysterious realms. But all that you need to know is that it does work, and it's actually being proven now. So it's really amazing. I feel like I want to just encourage women that feel like they're ready to really come together, because I feel like until we have global peace, like there is work for us to do, especially us women and sisters in gathering. And that's why it's so beautiful what you're doing too, Sky, with creating these women's panels and topics for women to come together, because I feel like we're moving out of an era of, you know, where women are competitive with each other, and into an era where we're so incredibly supportive and encouraging each other to thrive and live our most fulfilling life, and where we actually, you know, really don't even have an inch of judgment or anything within us. And that's what Stephanie and I get to experience within our sisterhood and our community on Hawaii, is just this incredible network of women that I honestly I don't think I've ever felt even one time an inch of like competition or jealousy or threat or hatred or anything negative from like any women in our circle. And there's just a feeling of it being like this foundation to expand into more of a global sisterhood for women that are ready to just really come to a group healed, and and then to see what kinds of intentions can we set together, and what kinds of magic can we create together when we're really witnessing each of us living our most fulfilling life, or at least intending to get to that point. And so it's super exciting to share and to have the raw food thread intertwined with it too, because it's been such a huge piece of both Stephanie and my journey as well.
I love that. Speaking on womanhood and femininity and having each other, in this world, I feel like I ran out the gate and tried to heal myself. And it's why I only got so far in masculine energy. And I feel like I have had to work hard to sit in soft energy, to sit in my natural birthright. And that's been a lesson I've learnt recently and I think trauma definitely forces, and I've worked with a spiritual healer as well, and it forces us into that, like that masculine energy. But I could only get so far. Like my true depth of who I am has to come through this feminine energy, and it is 100% helping doing these panels and you guys creating a sisterhood to do this, because I guess it's not just me. I would think other women are struggling to sit in that energy.
100%. That was actually one of the first things that I noticed where I felt like my job at the time I first worked at a law firm, and very masculine energy. It's all about the billable hours and work as much as you can nonstop, call back at the office at midnight, and on a Saturday, right? Very masculine, work yourself to the bone. And then I went in-house to a financial advising company doing hedge funds, very masculine energy. And I just remember walking around the office going, the person I have to become to be here is not who I am. This isn't who I feel I am. And at one point I was listening to a woman who was talking about feminine energy. And this was like 2011 at the time. And so it was CDs. And I had a CD set of this woman talking about feminine energy. And I said, okay, I'm going to walk around the financial advising company with my feminine energy. And, but it's just I very much resonate with what you said. When we come back into our feminine energy, it also, I think, allows us to get back to, I think I've heard you talk about this, Sky, before, our inner child, and really coming back to who we are, right? At that like deep soul level. And that is actually one of the things I've talked to Layla about, is our experience together, the laughter we share. I said to her, it reminds me of some of the most wonderful memories I had as a 12-year-old, just laughing with my friends. And it reminded me of the last time I really felt like the true Stephanie. And as we go through life, I just feel like it's not, maybe forced is a strong word, but it's molded out of us, right? Because we have to survive at a certain point. We feel like we have to become this other version of ourselves, this more masculine version. And being in sisterhood with Layla and being on Kauai and all of this work has really allowed me to come back to that, to attempt to come back to, it's always a work in progress, to that feminine energy, especially because I'm still working in the law. It's a balance at all times.
Yeah. I loved hearing about you and Layla laughing, because when I was in Kauai with Jillian and we were up like late at night, we would literally stay awake for like 4 hours laughing. And I would be like, this is like sleepovers when you're little, when you don't sleep. I'm like, we've got to go to sleep. And then we just start giggling all like for hours. And that is a rarity. And I'm getting the chills. But it's what I want to say to people listening is, this is why I do raw foods that help me stay well, and I get outside and I ground myself and I don't give in to what's going on around for moments like this. Like, we forget that they're in us, because I know a lot of people on their healing journeys can struggle to, go out for lunches with family and they're going to eat off, that doesn't serve them, or be around people that doesn't serve them. But it's moments that come through like that. And in fact, the day when we first started giggling, we'd been barefoot on the Kauai with Dan, getting coconuts and swimming in the ocean. So we ate off the land, we're swimming in the ocean. So it felt like school holidays, and we come out and we're just laughing. And so that's why we stay on these healing journeys. So I'm sure you have something to say about the feminine energy, Layla.
Yeah, well, I'm just remembering Jillian or you showing me the videos of your performance, dancing so well, and I can't remember you were like singing. I can't remember if it was Dua Lipa or someone, and it was just like, oh my gosh, like it just, we get to have so much fun together. But yeah, no, I have that feeling of, you know, just to echo what Stephanie said, of, you know, that us women are coming into a chapter where we get to kind of redefine what the feminine energy even is, and what we want it to be and what we need it to be, to really see the kind of changes in the world that we're ready to see. Because it's like, just because we have been a certain way in the past, or the feminine energy has shown up a certain way archetypically, or, you know, that we think that it's supposed to look a certain way, it's like there's a massive need right now for women to come together. I mean, it's evident to me as a mother, and just as a womb holder. And this is something that a lot, you know, Stephanie and I both have a friend who does Indigenous work with all the elders around the world. She brings together elders from every single corner of the earth who have this Indigenous wisdom. And almost every single one of those groups prioritizes the woman as the creator, the creatress, because of her actually having a physical womb space. Even if she's had surgeries or different issues, the fact that she has that womb space is the portal for creation. And the fact that we still have war, and we still have poverty, and we still have hungry, starving people and animals, and there's so much more that I don't need to say, is to me a sign of our lack of coming together and being incredible creators that we can be. And so for my intention and prayer and hope with Exquisite Reiki Sisterhood, or other developing, you know, women's healing circles, is to really kind of come and redefine ourselves of who are we now? What is sisterhood to us now? And what is the feminine energy needed to be able to transform the world the way that we want to? And it feels like it has to be different, because for now we've been repeating cycles over and over again on our planet, and we see it everywhere. And we're, you know, applying remedies to all the symptoms that we're seeing, but it's like, how can we get to the fundamental cause, and then be able to redefine who we are as a womankind, and then to extend that to mankind as well.
I feel like women coming together for me had been difficult, and I think I'd let society talk me into that, because coming together with women to me is facing myself. And when I get into it, I love it, but it's a hard space for me to come down, was a hard space for me to learn to come down into. Before I talk on that, I did want to say I have had a full hysterectomy, and at no stage did I ever not feel that my light body of femininity was still there, like that the physical not being there really had nothing to do with the fact that there's like levels of light body of me somewhere, that everything is completely more than perfect, more than I can imagine. So if you've gone through something, it doesn't make you less. In fact, I feel like now I've been coming into it a lot more. Maybe a part of my block was that physically things were removed and I wasn't aware, but never have I been conscious that I am less than. So I hope that as others out there that can also feel that way. But before even we get into that, do you guys want to go over just what Reiki is? Because I thought, like, I'm going off here, but before we go into anything else, why don't you guys explain what it is?
Do you want to? I'm happy to, or if you want to, you're welcome to, Steph.
Either way, Layla has a beautiful course on it, and which I've listened to, and so why don't you go ahead and do that? You talk about it so beautifully.
Yeah, I guess for now, Stephanie and I are going to develop a lot more things over the coming months, but for now we have a beginner's Reiki class that is shared on the new Earth Reiki Academy.com website. And it's called Reiki with You, and it goes through a step-by-step process of like the history of Reiki, and just a pretty short video, and then a few other details about it. But essentially, Reiki in Japanese, it's broken up into two kanji, and the Rei stands for universal, and then Ki is also like Chi, it stands for energy. So Reiki really just means universal life force energy. And when you're a Reiki healer or practitioner, you're not necessarily like giving anything as much as you are just opening your being up to be a vessel or a conduit, like we were talking about, for this universal life energy to come into you and through you. In my experience, I've always kind of just felt it as something that comes from my heart and then out my arms and out my palms. But I was amazed when I first learned and I got my first attunement, and my palms literally were like hot and warm. And when I would put my hands on my head, like prior to learning Reiki, I would take 4 Advils a day because I would get headaches, really, really bad headaches. Once I learned Reiki, I have not taken an Advil since. I just put my hands on my head, which I don't even really get headaches anymore. But if I did, I would just put my hands on my head for like a couple minutes and it just goes away, because this energy, you know, being attuned to this lineage of Reiki healers, which in the tradition, you always have to learn from a Reiki master. So Stephanie and I are both Reiki masters. So if someone wanted to learn, then they would learn from us or receive this energetic attunement from us, rather than like from a book or something like that. You have to have an actual like physical or virtual presence that you're receiving it from. But once you receive that, you kind of are welcomed into this lineage where the energy just flows so much stronger through you, and it increases, in my opinion, your health, and your immune system is boosted, and your mental health is better, and you're happier, and there's so much stuff that it just clears that has been thwarting your joy or blocking or being an obstacle to you enjoying your life or having success in whatever realms you're wanting to. But essentially it's all about just opening up to this universal life energy and having a particular container of, you know, being a Reiki practitioner or healer or teacher as kind of a rubric or a guideline to know how to do it.
Thank you. And anyone listening, if you want to know more, I have connected the websites in the description. So you can go and see that website and see that course. Is that course free, or is that part of your...
Yeah, it's a free beginners Reiki class. And then the attunement is by donation. And then our intention is that, you know, women who receive that, until we have something through Exquisite Reiki Sisterhood, that women who receive that can come over, follow us on Instagram and see what kinds of offerings we have there, because we've talked about a lot of different free offerings and webinars and workshops and retreats and all kinds of stuff that will eventually open up into as well, to kind of support and create this growing container for women who want to be more in that field.
That's absolutely amazing. And thank you so much for sharing all that. So let's move back to getting into that feminine energy, and what are even some tips, and how do you work with people to help them? I mean, you are women working together, so that's already step one. But I was actually just thinking how I feel like my teens are that last time where I felt free and connected to like women. And then it's almost like, and I know I was sick most of my journey, but even when I tried to go to university, it's like society is made to split people up against each other. Like I felt at school, even though we're still getting, maybe we're just younger at that time, we're still, again, like getting grades, but we're more supportive, and like it wasn't a huge thing. And then it's like the rest of life is like get the job over someone else, get the grade in university. You're not as connected. It's more competitive. So yeah, how do we come back into that laughing and dancing and loving life?
I mean, I think part of it is just opening yourself up to it and finding those soul sisters. I refer to Layla, and I would call you Sky, a soul sister. Truly people who, you know, that you can really say most anything to, and they won't judge you, and they've got your back, and you can just be yourself 100%. And I think just having that space to do that is probably the best way to allow that. And I'm sure there are other ways, that people will talk about with that you can do on your own without having someone else around. But I think it's just beautiful to have the energy of another woman who is supportive and only wants the best for you. And as Layla was talking about, just it's a space, and what we're hoping to create is a space where it is going back to that 12-year-old version of ourselves, where really we just want to be friends and we love each other and we want to hold each other up, and we're not competitive, and there's no jealousy. It's more, if I see you being wonderful, I am so happy for you, and it only makes me want to, if I want like that, I go, oh my gosh, she's showing me what's possible. That's amazing.
I love that.
But I do feel like watching, being around other women who have that energy is, for me, probably the most powerful. I do find that I tend to veer back into a masculine space when I am secluded more. I don't. It's probably just because I've been in that mindset for so long, and so I have to. Force is a strong word, but I have to sort of force myself out of that into a more feminine energy if I'm not in connection with a soul sister.
And that is what Layla was saying, is us women need to come together, because I feel like you isolate us and our default survival mechanism is masculine. And then when you're in it, you don't know you're in it. Like you don't know you're in it until you start moving back. And something that should be so natural truly it doesn't feel unnatural to go into. It just feels like I feel naked. That's what feeling. And so to be around women that look at you and they're like, I saw you did this, and then all you get is positive praise, is the people you want. Definitely. It's like, that's a great navigator, but truly coming back into that femininity. And that's why you creating what you are as a sisterhood, I think, will help so many people to have to turn up naked each week, basically. Well, no, not physically naked, but it can feel scary. Like it's so weird for me to even do anything in what I do now in masculine energy. Seems like it doesn't seem natural, but it seems like what I know, like familiar. But I feel most like myself when I'm naked, essentially, and sharing from feminine. So I think, like, yeah, what do you think, Layla, with getting into feminine energy?
Yeah, I think it's so true. What you both said feels so important. And for me, I would say that there's probably two main things. Maybe I'll think of another one as I share, but that really help bring me into the feminine. Which the first would be intuition, being intuitive, like really coming out of that masculine construct of the mind that just needs to have a plan and needs to know about what's going to happen or have some sense of control, to really kind of develop our ability to be intuitive with our life and intuitive with our decisions. Is such a beautiful feminine thing. I mean, every time I've done that in my life, I felt like such a goddess, like just being like, yeah, I'm like totally here on earth to just listen and follow my heart and be in this beautiful flow. And the more that I do that, the more beauty I see surrounds me, and incredible relations and friendships and sisterhoods and everything. And that leads into the second piece, which I feel is so feminine, which is like this deep, dark womb space of the unknown, really being comfortable with the unknown, which is why people don't like to be in the feminine as much, because the masculine is so much more laid out and predictable and safe and secure. And the feminine way is to get out of any need for that in the external world and to really pull everything in and be this space cultivating space, essentially, and being okay with the unknown and being able to be comfortable with that degree of uncertainty. And to be able to trust within that is such a gift when we give that to ourselves. And it also sets an example for what, you know, our brothers can do, what the men of the world can do. Like they're tired of being in the masculine energy too. You know, I know a lot of amazing men who are ready to kind of step more into their femininity and allow the feminine to guide their life a little bit more, whether it be a physical representation or just, you know, the archetype within them. And so I feel like when we open up to our femininity, it's like a little bit of a bug, you know, like a virus, like it can start to spread around us, and other people can understand more how to open up to that and welcome it and embrace it and amplify it.
Yeah, on the back of that, like the idea for me, it's almost a delusion. So I think in masculine energy, I have more control, but there's always more chaos that never gets controlled, that my overthinking is the comfort, right? Is when I stepped into my feminine energy, flow does work, but you don't know what's coming up. When you're in masculine energy, you've pre-predicted everything that's about to go wrong. And when the thing that you haven't pre-predicted goes wrong, you've talked yourself into thinking that you can deal with this and you've overcome this, but you have to let go of knowing and accept that there's this energy that keeps you safe. And that is huge. Like when I started healing, I sat in that space, and it's, I think, one of the hardest things to do in this society, but it's the one that gives me the most results. So I wanted to give you ladies the floor now to talk on whatever has come up for you or you wanted to touch on, because I feel like I've asked what I know. This isn't my realm. Usually I've got a million raw food and healing questions, but like I would love you guys to talk on anything that you would like to talk on.
Oh gosh, there's so much so many directions. I'm thinking maybe though the talking about the connection between the raw food and Reiki, or just raw food and healing might be a good next step for me. It's interesting. My initial approach, and this also weaves in the masculine, feminine. My initial approach to diet was a very masculine approach. Like this, always has to be exactly the same, extremely planned out. And this is going back actually from when I was, probably age 8 or 9. And always being very masculine about the types of food I ate and the regimented way of going about that. And I think one of the powers of raw food is it does allow you to be, it's more about eating the food that is going to heal your body rather than eating for the particular calories and macros. And so I think actually the raw food does play into that feminine energy as well too. And finding foods that are going to give you glowing skin and green juices that look so beautiful, like the one you're drinking, right? That are going to give you this energy that is not as, I don't know how to describe it, but it's not as masculine. And you're also, I think the raw foods, in terms of Reiki, I think that one of the big connections is that just the digestive burden is lessened. There's that life force energy just from the food that is involved. So that's something that we are looking to explore, or Layla has already actually explored that deeply, but we're looking to further go in depth with the connection between diet and the Reiki. I refer to it as the dieta. Reiki and life force energy in our food. And not even that someone has to be completely 100% raw, but just understanding the potential for food to give energy and maybe even impact that feminine energy.
Yeah. I mean, when I got onto raw food, and why I stay away from very much anything in a packet of raw foods, is because it is masculine, right? Is this brain is wanting, you call it ketchup, we call it tomato sauce. it's showing up for the exact same chemical makeup of that source every night. And the gravy from the packet is the exact same chemical makeup. Whereas even when I coach people, I don't want them eating off a program. I want to know what they have access to, what season they're in, what foods they're drawn to. If you want more greens tonight, go for it. 3 nights in, you want more fats, go for it. Like, the more you can trust. And that's what tapping into that feminine energy when I healed is the most rewarding. But it was like, as I said, it's sitting in a society where structure is made. And so with Reiki, I can imagine you getting more flow. Most people that I speak to who do like healing modalities, natural healing modalities, say that working with a raw foodist is completely different. Like they say it's a pleasure because there's just this unstuckness at some level. So
Yeah. I actually have a dear, she's become a dear sister, but I met her on one of the Hawaiian islands that she actually created a Reiki center, a healing center on the island, and really beautiful woman. And she follows Dr. Doug Graham's 80-10-10 lifestyle. So she's super high fruit. And she actually, when I first met her, she was like very interested because she found out that I was a Reiki master and that I ate raw foods. And she was like, "Can I please have a session?" And she's like, I only receive sessions from raw vegans." And I was just like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah, I cannot let anyone else work on me because it doesn't help me when they do that." And so it was really interesting to hear that and to kind of see that common thread amongst many women who, you know, are on the path of self-love. And obviously we all have our paths to explore and to develop and to find out what works best for us individually. But I've noticed in my path that I eat, like, whatever I am eating is essentially whatever is going to give me the best energy and the clearest and most peaceful state of mind. And raw foods has just been that for me ever since I first found out about it. It's like such a clear instigator of peace and well-being. And so I think it's really amazing because, you know, and I don't know if you've learned a lot about the shamans, or especially in Central and South America, there's this shaman's diet that people who are starting to go and do ayahuasca or different kinds of plant medicine, since that's becoming more popular, they have to follow this shaman's diet for periods before or after. I don't know exactly quite how it works, but so Stephanie and I both have been excited to develop the Reiki Dieta, which is essentially, you know, if you are interested in healing or becoming a Reiki healer or just getting more into the field of alternative modalities of healing, just to kind of have a rubric for what kinds of things can really allow for optimal energy flow and for, you know, optimal receiving and then optimal giving as well. So it's kind of all interconnected.
I love that. I've spoken to people who drink their juices for their chakras, like the colors that they create in their juices activate their chakras. And sometimes I don't even get cravings for food. I get cravings for color, like that energetics comes through so strong. There's something to it. I also watched, this is when I was really sick, before I'd found even paleo or veganism or raw veganism, this documentary on, and I was so sick I couldn't imagine doing it, but these people, all of them very sick, would go out with this shaman into the Amazon. And these guys lived like you, Layla, like bare feet, but constantly on the earth. And all they did, these shamans, is talk to the plants. And then when these people came, I think the first thing they did was give them a laxative by a mud bath, and they had to bathe in all this mud. So you're literally becoming, like, as you said, the shaman. And then the shamans would take these people on walks, and the plants would talk to the shaman. And then a lot of the time the shaman would say, "You're not even kind of worthy at this stage to have the food." He has to smoke it himself and breathe it on these areas. But all these people came away, and I've tried to look for this documentary again, and I wish I could find it, but all these people have come away with whatever they had I remember there being liver cancer, seizures, or another person gone. But these people are fully immersed and surrounded, not one shaman. There was like, maybe 7 people and probably 10 shamans. So it is quite incredible when you become the healer in their environment, what is possible. Because you've got then a healer on raw food and possibly a person wanting to be healed eating raw food. And together it's like, boom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you can do it in your own kitchen without having to go to the Amazon.
Yeah, and what you have to understand, a huge part of my healing was that I had it in me all along. That for some, we mostly think, including myself, that the sicker I got, the more I needed a professor or a surgery, now a top surgery, 5 doctors. And then at rock bottom where I couldn't even use my brain, is my body had an ability to just discern that I felt better on the food not cooked. It wasn't complex. I couldn't even read what I was doing. It was like, Sky, you've got no chance. You can't even function if you don't stick to this. And then that evolved. And a lot of what I talk about is the battle I face when I get too immersed online. And all of a sudden I've got myself brainwashed and into a predicament. And I have to learn to come back to myself and my own kitchen. Otherwise, life will put me in bed where I can't do much and I have to relearn.
I'm constantly forcing, I'm going, why are you watching this? Why are you watching this? Because it's very easy to get sucked in to all the different narratives about all of that. And just like you said, so important to just come back to, nope, I know what's right for me. And there's no one right way of even being raw vegan, right? There's, and actually having the confidence to, I think maybe this is also something that's feminine, is being like, no, you know what? Even though this person over here says that this is the way to do it, I know when I do that, I don't feel good. So I am going to do it the way that my body feels good. And there's something, I think, feminine in that, being a little bit, like you all both said, being a little bit more intuitive, which I've had to learn over the years, because I'm very susceptible to watching someone on YouTube say, here's how I do it, or here's how it's done. And I go, okay, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
You said, pull myself back.
And it is sitting in that feminine space where each of us can eat differently and still love the person unconditionally because they're on their journey. And I think that is like, I just found with this healing journey, it definitely isn't just the food, but for me, the food is the gateway. I don't have access to doing anything or feeling it how I need to without looking after the food. And that's like my paradigm. And I had to learn on my raw food journey that if someone, I've been on periods with 100% fruit, and then I think I'm all high and mighty, and then I watch life rip me all the way back down. And I'm so grounded in what I do now, where I have more balance, that I see everyone for where they are on their journey. And I'm grateful that I have people around me that love me as I learn, right? We want people to love us as we learn. Did you want to say anything, Layla?
Oh, I just love that you added that piece, because Stephanie and I, have our own journeys that we're following as well, and especially in regards to diet and lifestyle, just always being open and trying to find what, how to feel better, how to just keep thriving or thrive even more. And it feels like I've been amazed that I have so many incredible people in my life that don't even do anything close to what I do, and yet they're happy, they're functional, and they seem to be thriving. And so it just goes to show that there's absolutely no judgment. Like there's a feeling of just like me knowing, almost like what you just said, Sky, around having to do it for functionality practically. That's what it got to for me too. I mean, I would eat a cooked meal and just fall asleep at a certain point because I was so weakened and I needed to get life from my food. And I found, that the raw foods really gave that to me. And for, what we're wanting to do with the Reiki diet is more so just kind of being able to have it be something that people can integrate no matter what lifestyle they're doing. That they can say, oh, well, here's a nice thing to add to whatever I'm currently doing, or to just kind of have it be not necessarily the foundation, but more so just an opportunity to say, these are certain particular ways that you can get more energy if you're just focusing on vegetables, or if you're just focusing on fruits and wanting to get more of those, or these are fun, simple ways to do that. So for the chakras, for the energy flow, and for optimal living. And yeah, it's just really important to always remember that we're all different on this planet, and we can all have our own paths, and we don't need to judge each other for what those paths are, and that we can also share when we find stuff that works for us, and that it's exciting because maybe it could work for other people too, who are looking and who haven't found what works for them.
Yeah. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is someone might be watching a podcast and someone's like, if you don't eat raw food, you're doing it wrong, this is wrong, and all of that. But someone watching you may not know how hard they've worked just to get rid of processed food and meat, you know, and they've worked like because you're only ever battling yourself. You know, that's most of the time you're with yourself. And then they get on a podcast, and I never want to be that person, because everyone is working towards something. They might be in the dark right now, but my greatest tools came from my dark. Always for me come from the dark. Like what I learn in my dark, I come into the light and I'm like, well, I've learnt this and I've learnt this. And I'm not going to judge someone at someone's path. So, you know, I want people to just feel love, which is what you guys are sharing. So we've been doing this for just over an hour, but I'm happy to keep going if there's anything else you guys want to talk on.
I feel like we really captured the essence of what we're hoping to share and what we're hoping to create. And we have a lot of ideas, just have to put them into action.
I would add one piece that Stephanie and I have talked about before, is that we really do want to integrate nature into this exquisite Reiki sisterhood, because we do see that, you know, Mother Earth is the fundamental goddess healer. And when we can connect not only with the earth, but also with the earth together as a sisterhood, that there is so much potency to that. So we do feel like we're wanting to call all the sisters together, and that eventually we're working towards hosting retreats and workshops, probably in person on the islands, so that people can come and actually experience the hands-on mana of the Hawaiian Islands, and be able to immerse together in a sacred sisterhood that's based on being whole, and seeing what kind of magic we can create from there.
And look, before you even turn up to her Reiki retreat, if you land on Kauai, it's literally the first thing, even before I landed, as I'm flying over, it's like I've come home. You are in a magical land. So you're in a magical land, and then you're probably going to be sharing lots of fresh food. You're having it's like magical food on Kauai. It's like the pineapples are a different color yellow I didn't know existed. So you've got all this beautifulness in you, and then you get to do Reiki. That sounds like I need to come back over.
Yeah, please.
It truly is a magical island. My life changed in just the most magical ways once I moved here.
Oh, even the weather system is its own weather system. Like it's like you watch the clouds just come around the mountains just on Kauai. So, you know, it doesn't, I mean, I think Siri still tells us, but it's different to the rest of the world. It's got its own little magical land.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you, Layla. Thank you, Stephanie, so much. I saw JJ here said, hello, ladies. So I saw Rocky Wright and Friends said, I'm overly sensitive as well, and I've always had a hard time with it. And I am like that. Layla's like that. I'm not sure if you're like that, Stephanie, but it's like your harness, it's a superpower. I thought I was broken and needed all these like ADHD medications, but really I needed to become the master of every gift I have.
It's just emotional intelligence.
It is. And Shelley said, please help. What do I do? She's had some vaccines and they have harmed her. I have sent you a message at some time, Shelley, but you can reach out to Layla and Stephanie. Their email address or website is there if you want to explore healing with some Reiki. And good luck with the exquisite Reiki sisterhood, ladies.
Thank you, Sky. Thank you for this opportunity to share with the community.
You're very welcome anytime. And thank you everyone for joining us. And I will see everyone soon. Bye.
Bye.